What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Mystic Watch. And today we're gonna be doing a Should You Summon video on the double Zeldris banner that came out today. Now, I am going to be summoning for Zeldris just because I want to use Zeldris, but the short answer is do not summon for Zeldris unless you really want him specifically. He is not anything amazing. He is a very good unit, specifically Red Zeldris. Red Zeldris gets a lot of use later on, especially once Droll comes out. But as of right now, Zeldris is, if I was going to say S tier is Lost Vein, Zeldris is a low A tier unit. So he is a good unit. He is not a busted unit. Yeah. Now the reason why I am saying do not summon on Zeldris because we're gonna go over the units. So let me go over to my desktop and let's talk about the units. So there's two Zeldris. We got red and blue Zeldris, and red one is the coin shop one. So you are going to be able to get red Zeldris guaranteed in 4 weeks once he comes out into the shop, because it's 2 weeks for the banner and then 2 weeks after he leaves, and then eventually he'll come out discounted for 7 coins. But it's not a rush right now. Zeldris is a fun unit. You will see him in PvP, but he's not going to be meta breaking or anything. Once Droll comes out, you'll see red Zeldris come up a lot more. But let's go over blue Zeldris first. Blue Zeldris is the inferior Zeldris, but he is the more fun Zeldris for me. So let's start off with the commandment, right? Both Zeldrises have the same exact commandment, which is remove debuffs from allies. Remove debuffs from allies and enemies that moved skills, and it depletes the ultimate gauge orb by 1. So the way this works is even if you have debuffs or not, that's relevant. It is when you shift a card, you lose an ultimate gauge. Simple as that. So normally when you combine 2 cards, you gain 2 ultimate gauge orbs. You would now only gain 1 because you're losing 1 from moving the card around. Now, remove debuffs is really cool. This is a mechanic that ends up getting kind of overlooked a lot when people play against Zeldris. Since Zeldris isn't, even though he's a good unit, he's not as popular, people kind of just forget about his commandment. Now, for example, I don't think many people know like Derrieri's commandment. Like if I just asked like what is Derrieri's commandment, majority of the people probably wouldn't know, because it doesn't really come into play that much when you use Derrieri, and it's just range attacks do less damage. That's literally it. That's your commandment. So it's kind of like that, right? Where it's like you don't really think about this commandment that much, and what it allows for a lot of people who are using Zeldris to kind of get away with plays that they normally wouldn't have if the opponent had knowledge on it. For example, like let's say you had golden Lost Vein cards, and the opponent has a king, or you're up against like a red Merlin. Red Merlin is a very popular counter to Lost Vein, so red Merlin just keeps freezing your Lost Vein. Now, if you had red Zeldris on your team, or just in the game at all, if you just shift one of Lost Vein's cards, he would lose an ultimate gauge, but he would completely get rid of the freeze or the petrify. So that's how that works. Blue Zeldris' passive is Demon King's Deputy, increases the hero's crit damage by 30% for each orb removed from the ultimate gauge. Works very well with his commandment. Should also mention that using your ultimate move does not count as ultimate gauge being depleted. It only works from his passive, or if an opponent was to take away an ultimate gauge orb, such as like a Merlin, a green Merlin card, or a red Helbram card. But he can go up to 90% extra crit, 90% extra crit damage, which works really well because his 2 moves are based on crits. You got Spike on the first one, which is double crit damage, and Despair, which is when you crit, you heal 15% of diminished HP, and this is an AoE move, meaning he can heal a decent amount. And he's also got Spike on his ultimate, which is the same as Jericho's ultimate. So overall, very good move, and does massive damage. Like you use this, a rank 2, like when you're at max stacks, like a rank 1 is almost one-shotting majority of the people in this game. So it's a lot of damage. Now, the issue with blue Zeldris, right? Because everything up until now has been like, yeah, Zeldris is good. Why wouldn't you use Zeldris? Everything up until now, the issue is, if you take a look at his crit chance, at 6 stars, 6/6, well, the 6/6 is irrelevant, but you can see here that his base stats is 60% crit chance, and 64 with full 6-star awakenings. Now you can get this a little bit higher with cosmetics. I think you can break 70% if you buy all the cosmetics. But keep in mind that you think of 70%, you're like, yeah, that's a pretty high crit chance. Now the issue is, people in this game, crit chance is not the only stat that matters, right? You have to think about crit resistance. Imagine going up against another Zeldris and he has a 60% crit resist. You are never critting him, ever. It's not happening. So that's the issue with Zeldris, is that Zeldris does not have a high enough crit chance to the point where he just doesn't crit. And you need units like Death Pierce or Res Slater in order to allow him to actually crit, or make gear for him that has crit chance on it. I wouldn't make a crit chance set, I would just make a standard attack crit damage set for Zeldris, and then one of the pieces make them all crit chance, so you can just swap out one piece and that's it. One of the attack pieces. But yeah, that's if you're making gear specifically for blue Zeldris. But other than that, he does not crit. He really doesn't. And to be fair, 60% crit resist is extremely high, and the people who have this are I don't know off the top of my head, but I know for a fact that Gother has 60% crit resist. A lot of the other people's are lower than this. For example, LV Melly Lost Vein only has no crit resist, so critting him is a genuine 60% chance. But the more crit resist you have on a unit, the harder it is for you to hit, and it's not something that you can tell from just holding down their character. Crit resist is not a stat that pops up. You have to know it off the top of your head, or like, you know, be checking here on a website to see what it is. So that's the main issue with this unit. He heavily relies on critting, but he doesn't crit. Now Zeldris, the coin shop one, his passive is, and this is a really cool passive, Leader of the 10 Commandments increases allies' basic stats by 6% for each ally or enemy with the commandment. Really cool passive, and you'll be hearing a lot of Zeldris with commandment teams, where he just jams in like 2 or 3 commandment units, and it's pretty nuts. Like, you get, because it includes himself, right? So he gets 6% naturally, and people right now are running Derriere and Esterosa, which is another 12%. So he's getting 18% to everyone in all basic stats, which is pretty good. And eventually, once 4v4 comes out, or Guild Wars, you'll see 4 commandments pretty often, where the 4th one will be Red Melascula, who is just good at keeping people alive. And then the stats go up even more, right? Like, you're at 24% with 4 commandments. Now, this Zeldris is decent right now, but he gets a lot better when Droll comes out. And Droll, even if you are a global person, let's take a look at Droll. So Droll is his commandment, you can use it, you don't have to use it. Apply a buff that increases resistance by 30% for 3 turns every time an ally or enemy receives damage from skills in PvP. So he's just really tanky boy, but this is the big thing. Every time an enemy's ultimate gauge, every time an enemy's ultimate move gauge reaches 5, disable ultimate moves for 2 turns. He's very good at stalling and preventing ult rush. He's got Detonate on here, so he does a good amount of damage because people will be at max ult. And the other move is disables buffs and debuff skills, AoE. But this team is extremely powerful in PvP together. So whenever he comes out, that's just something to keep in mind. Now, Zeldris has a very good moveset here. His first move is Deplete an Ultimate Gauge Orb, just like Green Merlin or Red Helbram, with the second move being the same as Red Arthur's Disable Recovery Skills attack. So it has a very good this is a very good card to spam out as bronze cards. You never want to combine these to silver, because the damage doesn't go up at all, and you only get 1 additional turn of this recovery skills. So it's very nice to just spam this because the multiplier is high. It's 220%, and the highest percent multiplier you can get on a bronze is 240 naturally. So there are moves that, like with Amplify and things like that, can go over, but very strong card. This does a lot of damage on rank 2, and of course you just have the ultimate gauge control. Same exact ultimate, and that's really it. So this Zeldris, you'll see a lot more than blue Zeldris. And in terms of gear, if you did want to build him, it would be most likely HP defense for red Zeldris, but the problem is blue Zeldris wants attack defense. So you can go either way. I'm building for blue Zeldris just because blue Zeldris is more fun. But yes, the short story, or the whole point of this is red Zeldris is the better one. He will be in the coin shop. I don't recommend summoning. It's important to save your gems for either the KOF collab or Goddess Elizabeth. So we don't know when KOF is coming. That's why I'm stockpiling right now. I'll probably spend about half. If I get both of them early, I'll stop there. I'm not going for dupes. I just care about getting a copy for now. Yeah, you want to save for KOF collab and Goddess Elizabeth. Majority of the units that have come out, we've gotten pretty much all the important units for now, and it's just going to be like festival units taking over slowly. KOF collab, although it's not hype at all, I could not care about the IP at all. The units are very good. Rugal, Mai, and Kyo are very, very powerful units. So that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Good, nice, fast-paced video on should you summon or not. And I will be doing a showcase on both of the Zeldrises in the upcoming days. So if you want to see what it's like to use them, you can. That's it. Enjoy your time. Have a good one. Peace out.